After years of planning and delays and all of the headaches that come with a construction project, I am finally here to show some of the progress that we've made on our garage roof deck.
This was definitely the most stressful thing we've been working on, besides the school itself. And I have to thank Jerry from Harmon Construction for teaching me so much about how to build stuff. Would never have been able to manage this without his brain. We've been physically building the garage for about a year now, but we've been planning stuff since we bought the school 3 years ago.
I'm standing here on top of our garage, and honestly, it still feels a little surreal after all of the planning and the sweat and the stress and all of the lessons that we've learned along the way.
When we first bought the school in August 2021, there was an old metal-sided pole barn here. It had served its purpose for years, but the masonry work underneath was in pretty rough shape. You could even see through the mortar in places. And having the garage there made it challenging to tackle the foundation and tuck pointing repairs that the school really needed. And while it wasn't exactly a perfect fit for this historic building in the middle of the beautiful Indiana cornfields, we appreciated that it had been part of the property's story. So, with all that, we dismantled this barn and gave away the metal siding, and we cleaned a bunch. And then we focused on the repairs for the actual schoolhouse, which, if you're new here, I've documented that process in tons of other videos. And while we started doing the other schoolhouse repairs, we did some dreaming and scheming about what the garage could be. So, why build a garage? Well, our trusty old 2010 Toyota Camry has been through enough. A decade of street parking and bird bombs in New York and Philadelphia. She deserves a break. And don't even get me started on the queen of this household, our 1997 Chevy Cheyenne, Martha. Now, some folks on social have commented to me, why not put the garage in the schoolhouse basement? And we kind of did briefly entertain that idea, like for one crazy second, but the idea of any car exhaust creeping into our kitchen or bedrooms was not a pleasant one, so it was a no-go on that. But the real reason is, it's much bigger than parking. We always dreamt of a home where you could walk straight out of the kitchen into an outdoor space. A place for family dinners, epic hangouts, and the kind of parties where you take in the Indiana sunsets, sit back, and listen to the crickets at the end of a night. And back when we were living in New York, our last apartment had this little terrace off the kitchen. We had a little garden, and we threw dinner parties all the time. And then, during the pandemic, I was working from home, and Sean was working at a hospital in the Bronx that was one of the first epicenters of COVID. And that outdoor space basically kept us sane. So when it came time to plan our forever home, we knew we wanted to do something similar. We'd started working with my friend Danny, who has a background in architecture. He helped us sketch out the floor plans of the schoolhouse and dream up a garage roof deck. It's wild looking back at Danny's old renderings now because honestly we stuck pretty darn close to the original version, and that part of the process, it was really fun. We're dreaming up layouts, imagining summer nights up here, and seeing it all take shape. And Danny, being the amazing artist that he is, even snuck our dog Pim into a bunch of his renderings. Once we had the vision locked down, we teamed up with Cooler Design in Indianapolis to turn Danny's mockups into official architectural plans. A few tweaks here and there, and then it was time to build. And now I know some of you love the behind-the-scenes full construction details, and don't worry, I'm going to have a big time-lapse video showing every step of the build. And as someone who has always done writing and computer stuff for a job, to me, there's something seriously magic about watching things get built. So that video is coming soon, whenever I finish editing it.
But today's video, I want to give you a roof deck garage tour, and I also want to take you on a little adventure to visit the factory where all of this furniture was created. So stick around, we'll be back to the schoolhouse in just a second. We're back in time a little bit to October, where I'm headed to northern Indiana to the place where they pioneered the whole process of recycling plastic and turning it into extremely durable outdoor furniture. And I still can't believe that this all started in Indiana.
So I'm here outside the POLYWOOD factory here in Syracuse, Indiana, where they make recycled outdoor furniture that we're going to be using on our schoolhouse party deck.
This place was wild. Literally on one side of the facility, trash went in, and on the other side, furniture came out. The goal for the day was just to get a factory tour and see how they make the recycled furniture. And I love watching how things are made, so I have a lot of clips of myself with my mouth hanging open. I won't subject you to too much of that. In the last few years, there's been a lot of news talking about how recycling is broken and how most of what we put in our recycling bins doesn't actually get recycled. And it's friggin' depressing. But I also get it. Recycling is so hard on all levels, from small stuff like turning an old school into your house to the enormous stuff like recycling plastic and turning it into a very profitable and inspiring business. But POLYWOOD is doing it. My tour guides for the day were Bryce and Christine, and they showed me how they do it.
All right, I'm here with Bryce. He's a sales manager here at POLYWOOD, and he's going to show us how POLYWOOD, oh no.
Lost it.
He's going to show us how you take literal trash and turn it into treasure.
Yes, of course. Yeah, so here at POLYWOOD, every day on average, we're taking 500,000 single-use plastic containers. Milk jugs, laundry detergent bottles, pill bottles. They would otherwise find their way to one of two places, either a landfill or the ocean. Whereas for us, we're diverting those, recycling them, and turning them into POLYWOOD furniture.
All of the plastic POLYWOOD recycles comes in a variety of containers, and each of the bales that you see here accounts for about 10,000 different single-use containers. And a quick disclaimer before we dive in, it was so loud on this tour, and my little microphones are not expensive enough to stand a chance against the industrial symphony of heavy machinery. So I'll be narrating a lot of this for you. For example, here's Bryce begging folks to please rinse out your milk jugs so it doesn't smell like a dumpster behind an ice cream shop in July in here. Here's how it works to take this and turn it into this. Cheers. Step 1 starts with breaking the plastic into smaller pieces that are easier to work with. Enter the shredder, a machine with two jobs. First, it chops the plastic into bite-sized chunks. And here's the clever part, it also weeds out anything that doesn't belong, like stray bits of metal or debris. Next, these shredded pieces take a swim. The washing process does more sorting, where paper and labels float to the top, while the heavier plastic sinks to the bottom. From there, the clean plastic is ground into tiny flakes and sent through a dryer to get rid of any lingering moisture. But it's not done yet. The flakes go through one last test, air separation, where they get sorted by a laser. This machine actually is a machine that is used to sort coffee beans, but the engineers at POLYWOOD have rejiggered it to sort clear plastic from colored plastic so that they can make the full range of colored furniture that people want. It's a meticulous process turning trash into furniture, one step at a time. And Bryce said that there have been many moments in the company's history when it would have been cheaper and more profitable to use new plastic instead of going through this whole process. But that POLYWOOD has always been committed to their goals of diverting and reducing plastic waste. Next, it's time to make some plastic lumber. I thought the recycling step was like watching a high-tech magic trick, but this was even crazier. It starts with molten plastic being formed into tiny pellets, which are whisked away by an automated vacuum system. They are transported to these silos, waiting their turn for the next big step. And let's just say, Indiana silos aren't typically stocked with this kind of material. From there, a series of vacuum tubes pull the pellets down into the extrusion line where the alchemy begins.
Yeah, don't look at that. It's not what it looks like. It's a blowing agent that works to give it its texture. Okay.
Inside the extrusion line, the pellets melt into a hot flowing mass of plastic colorants, UV stabilizers, and foaming agents to create the right mixture for furniture that will last decades in the sun, heat, salty air, and more. This molten concoction is pushed through a die, forming a single continuous piece of POLYWOOD lumber that stretches the entire length of the extrusion line. The endless board then takes a dip in a series of cooling tanks, hardening into its final form. Once solid, a pulling machine draws it towards the automated saw that cuts it down to usable pieces. These freshly cut POLYWOOD boards are now ready for the final stage, heading to production assembly, where they'll be transformed into furniture. And now for the grand finale, production assembly, where the raw lumber transforms into finished furniture. This process starts with the raw POLYWOOD boards ready to take shape. They're placed on CNC machines that cut them into precise pieces needed for each piece of furniture.
But here's the part that really gets me. Nothing goes to waste. Every scrap of the HDPE plastic is recycled again, ready to become new POLYWOOD furniture. It's like the cycle never ends, turning what would have been waste into endless possibilities. And once the pieces are cut, the assembly begins. Skilled production teams use tools designed in-house to ensure everything comes together with speed, accuracy, and quality. And they also have robots. Finally, the completed furniture is packaged and ready to head to homes all around the world. From raw lumber to a finished product delivered to your doorstep, every step is a perfect mix of innovation and purpose, taking something discarded and turning it into something extraordinary.
So just want to thank Bryce for the amazing tour, and gonna head back to the schoolhouse and wait for our furniture.
Glad to have you, and super excited to see the party deck finished, and hopefully come out and party along with you.
Come down to Franklin.
Enjoy the POLYWOOD.
Bring the kids.
Yeah, Indiana native, not too far. So yeah, we love it.
So back at the schoolhouse, and it was POLYWOOD Delivery Day. I was still nerding out after that factory tour, and I was just really excited to get to work on our roof deck. Our furniture was delivered by the lovely Keith, and we were chit-chatting while we were unloading about all kinds of stuff. Turns out he keeps his saxophone in his truck to play when he's on break, and he even gave me a private saxophone concert after we were done unloading the POLYWOOD. And then it was time to get building. The kids were very into the boxes, and we've even been using some of the POLYWOOD boxes in the dungeon playroom. The assembly of the furniture, it wasn't difficult. The only thing is that the POLYWOOD furniture is dense. There's a lot of recycled plastic in each of these pieces, and when you lift one, you can really tell. So here's what our roof deck looked like in November prior to our railings getting installed. We had our friends visiting from New York, and it was just a perfect fall day. We only stayed out here for a little bit though while the kids were sleeping. To the kids, until we got the railings installed, we basically pretended that the doors to the deck were broken and they were always locked. So it was a brief test of the POLYWOOD, playing some games and testing out the fire pit before it got super cold. And here's what our eventual plans are for this deck, at least in the short term. I doodled some stuff on that you can imagine what it might look like in the summer with some very bad doodles. And I'm just going to cover up this pic of me. When I took the screenshot from the drone, I didn't really think of myself standing there and being in this shot the whole time. So I'll just cover this up. So the first thing we're going to do is plants. A roof deck just isn't a roof deck without plants. And I loved gardening on the rooftops when we were in New York. And I've got a mean collection of cacti that I've been growing from a cactus that I found on the street in the trash like 10 years ago. So yeah, there will be a lot of plants. Number 2 is the cold frame. Here's this weird little planter thing that we added so that we could have stairs into the school underneath the garage. I'll show you a bit more what I mean in the tour. And right now we have the cold frame for some herbs, but I do want to make a bigger one that covers the whole area. Number 3 is umbrellas. Eventually we'd like to do a pergola or something to add some shade over here, but for now we'll just work with the umbrellas. Number 4 is a grill. We do have a little tabletop Japanese charcoal grill that is so fun that we bought when we were really sad in the pandemic. But it's time to get a big grill so that we can cook a lot of food for our whole families. And finally, we need to stain this railing and we need to restain the whole deck. Staining the deck last fall was a horrible job and really not looking forward to doing that again this year, but our deck guide told us we need to, so we will. But anyway, that's the gist of our plan. If you've got any ideas of stuff we should do, love hearing your input in all of the comments.
Okay, so now I want to start the little tour. And as you can see, you exit straight out of the kitchen onto the roof deck. And it's a little weird giving a tour of a roof deck in the dead of winter, but hey, that's what we're doing, and there'll be plenty more to come in the future. But here's our setup with all of the POLYWOOD furniture. We've got our table, we've got the amazing storage consoles. Inside we have the cushions and little kid high chair for the couch that's back there. And then over here, get a lot of questions about this every time it's shown in a video, but basically the door, one of the original doors from the school, comes off here, and you can see it like kind of mirrored on that side. And if we had gone like straight up to it, then you would have just hit your head and not been able to walk in the door. So what we did was, there's the garage stairwell here, and this will end up being like a little planter, or like something with a lot of pots in it, and like river rock at the bottom. We still have some work to do up here, but inside we've got all of our little herbs. Parsley is such a champion. We had it out in the open in New York all winter for a few years, so we'll forever have parsley. But next summer I want to build a bigger winter box for the herbs, so that we can have fresh herbs as long as we can. So the railings over here, Paul from Midstate Manufacturing, thank you so much. We have little Adirondack circle over here. Oh my gosh, it is so windy. I'm so sorry. And the adorable little kids table from POLYWOOD. They just launched the kid line, and this has already gotten a lot of use in the very brief window where we've had rails and allowed the kids to come up here. So yeah, over here is the couch. This is the fire pit that I showed in a different video. And yeah, over here we'll be able to catch the gorgeous Indiana sunsets. And yeah, just really look forward to hanging out here when it is not 28 degrees outside. Let me take you down here. I'll go around here. This is what the back of the school looks like. We have another entrance that goes into the garage here. Really excited to do some landscaping this spring and summer. But this little deck is a little like garden shed. Just have like flower pots and stuff like that in there. But this little deck is interesting. Because our excavator, Adam, is incredible, and he was like, hey, yeah, you have a dog, you're gonna plant new grass seed. It's not gonna be good in the winter for your dog to be peeing on the grass. You need to get some sod. And I was like, how much does that cost? He said about $1,000 with labor. And I was like, no, we're gonna figure something else out. So what we have here is a little city box for a dog, and Pim goes on there, and it just connects straight to the gutter, and it drains out into the yard out there. So maybe not our long-term solution, but it might be a little controversial, but hey, it's working. And yeah, you can see inside here. And then here's the view of the roof deck from over here. So yeah, just need some landscaping and a lot more work, as always. Eventually I think we'll want to do like a little patio thing here, and I don't know what else long term. We're still kind of just like surviving day to day on the project front. But yeah, down here will be like a nice little place to hang when it's really, really hot in the summertime. So now I'm back at the back door. I'm going to take you to the inside of the garage. We just painted this and eventually want to stain these steps and make this look a little bit nicer. But yeah, this little garage bay, our plan is to have it be a little mudroom of sorts eventually. We can like lightly heat it, but we'll see what we end up doing long term. But right now we've just got a bunch of like cabinets that we got that people left in one of my dad's office buildings. So nothing crazy, nothing really that interesting about seeing the inside of someone's garage. I'll open these doors and show you from the outside. Mostly just a lot of construction supplies that we haven't finished using, and beautiful little Martha has her own little spot. So that's about it on the inside of the garage tour.
There's still so much happening in our little schoolhouse, and I'm way behind on editing everything that's been going on. If you like restoration stories, finding new ways to salvage old stuff with a story, and getting your hands dirty, subscribe and join us on this bumpy ride. I'm super excited about what's coming up in the next year. We've got plans to dive deeper into the school's history, tackle the backyard, and do some landscaping, and keep working on the inside to make it feel more and more like home. As always, thank you so much for watching and for being a part of this adventure.